Some things only make sense in the light of eternity. Eternity is the cornerstone of logic and reason. When you lose sight of eternity, you lose sight of the fact that we will stand before the Lord, give an account of our lives. When that is erased from the equation, you're much more vulnerable to making stupid decisions. Amen. Wisdom comes in realizing that we will live a limited number of days. And when we live that way, we live prepared, as the scripture says, to present to him a heart of wisdom. The fight over your life and mine has a lot to do with our reasoning, how we think, how we see. It's my conviction that the Lord works every single day of our life to teach us how he thinks, to teach us what a renewed mind actually looks like. I love the Bible. I love memorizing scripture. But because you can answer a question with a Bible verse doesn't mean you have a renewed mind. The devil can answer every question with a Bible verse. It's a lot different than having the right answers. In this particular culture, having the right answers is a huge part of how we're wired. If you're from another nation, another culture, you may have it differently. But this culture is set on getting the answers right. The quest to be right is just a huge value. And it's because of that we don't always require experience from what we believe. And John Wimber was the champion on this. He introduced this concept to me at a level that I had never thought or considered before. You can go to a business school, and it's possible to go to a business school and not be taught by anyone who ever owned a business. Because it wouldn't cross our mind oftentimes, because we think in terms of filling out the questionnaire and getting the answers right, being able to give factual answers and that sort of thing. And yet, when the Lord talks about the renewed mind, when he illustrates what his mind is, it's just completely different, because it was logical to him that a child's lunch could feed a multitude. See, when the mind's renewed, the impossible looks logical.
Hey guys, we'll be right back to the message. I just wanted to let you know that Voice of the Apostles, one of our flagship conferences, is happening soon. We have amazing speakers, including Bill Johnson, Heidi Baker, Dr. Randy Clark, and many others. We'd love to see you there in person, but if you can't make it, you can also attend online. Click the link to learn more. Now back to the message.
His perspective is different, and it feels to me like the Lord is working to adjust us in how we think and how we perceive things. The great mistake that so many of the followers of Jesus made in his earthly ministry was they saw the miracles, they celebrated the miracles, they had whatever faith it took to give him a place to do whatever he wanted. That the miracle realm was very active and very positive and thriving. And yet Jesus, when he rebuked them in Matthew 11, he rebuked them because they hadn't repented, which is specifically, you didn't change the way you think. In other words, you saw the miracle, you had enough faith to make room for the miracle to take place, but it didn't change how you approach life. It was something you added to your life and you celebrated, but you never changed your life to give place to that which God intends to do in the earth. See, miracles are expensive. They're easy to get, but there's a balloon payment afterwards. You know, they require something from you once you've seen, once you've beheld what God does. It requires you to think different. It's not just mental gymnastics. It's faith. Faith shapes how you see. Faith sees. We know that faith doesn't come from the mind. It says, with the heart man believes. And yet the mind, we find, is very vital to faith. We see the centurion gives the most brilliant answer to the dilemma. You know, when he says, Jesus, I'm not worthy for you to come to my house. All you need to do is say the word, because I'm a man under authority, and I say to those under me, such and such, they do it. Because of who you are, all you need to do is give the command. It was an answer that was intelligent and brilliant, but it was from heaven's perspective. So it's not that the mind is unuseful. It's extremely useful. It's not the source of faith. See, the renewed mind is much like the banks of a river. It creates the context for faith to flow. The renewed mind creates the environment for real faith to be activated. Most of us don't have a faith problem. We have an unbelief problem. Jesus himself, in talking about faith, said, man, it only needs to be the size of a mustard seed. So I am constantly thinking of getting bigger faith. And he's basically saying what you have is enough to move a mountain. If you can remove the competing seeds, the seeds that the enemy has planted that compete for the life of the soil. Remember the parable of the seed and the sower. There's this concept at work there that a healthy seed can be planted, and yet there's weeds next to it that compete for the nutrients of the soil, and they grow faster than the seed God has planted, and they actually choke out the life of that seed. That's actually the picture of the development of faith. Sound the alarm in Zion. So great faith comes from surrender, not striving. It's not the product of hard work. It's the product of yieldedness. See, if you can imagine standing next to a river, you don't create the momentum of that river. It's already flowing. But when we cooperate with a pre-existing condition, that's what moves us into greater faith.
Good. Yes.
People come to me and they say, well, I'm more of an intellectual bent. Are you mistaking unbelief for brilliance? God's pretty smart, and he has a lot of faith.
Amen.
Let me try this side of the room. I struck out over there, so I'm depending on you. I want you to know that. Unbelief is not the same as brilliance. It's just. All right. Thank you for that spontaneous response. Warms my heart. The mind is actually supposed to be trained by faith and by experiences or encounters with the Lord. Let me be more specific. Trained by the activity of the Lord. The activities of God is the activities of the Lord in our life, whether we are observing, whether he's using us to do something, whether he's dealing with us on a matter. All the activities of God actually reveal his ways that are to retrain how we perceive future events. The work of God that we experience in life are to become the lenses through which we see present problems.